This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button and smash that subscribe button and all that good stuff. Let's get right into the news. All right, so we're talking about Young Buck. He's back in the news. All right, so Juvenile was asked on Vlad's network. He said, yo, Young Buck was talking about that he started out with you, and Juvenile cut him off right away. He said, yo, F Young Buck. He's a bitch. I don't like Young Buck. And it's really your interview that made me circle back around and say, oh, yeah, F Buck. Juvenile does not like Young Buck at all. Now, I wonder why. Young Buck was on there saying, like, yo, Juvenile left us stranded in L.A. We were supposed to go out there and do something with Suge, and he just bounced and all this other stuff. And I was like, you know. But then he's like, yo, shout out to Juvenile, man. And he always talks about starting with Cash Money, and he provide. I love this story where Young Buck says him and his guys provided a lot of the cars you saw in those videos in the beginning of, and I was like, I don't know about that. They were getting a lot of money. I think they had their own access to cars, but I don't think you came all the way down from Nashville with Lamborghinis and stuff for them to use. I mean, come on, let's be realistic. But Juvenile does not like Young Buck, and it seems like Young Buck does a lot of messed up stuff to people. A lot of people have bad things to say about Young Buck, especially 50 Cent. 50 Cent made this guy a millionaire, yet Young Buck has dissed him, 3 times and came back to the label? It's like something about Young Buck is shady. My dealings with him, I just realized that he still thought, when I was dealing with him in 2010 doing music videos, he still carried himself like he was Young Buck in 2004 and 5. And I was like, dude, you're in a rebuilding stage right now. Things are over right now. You're doing shows for like $3,000. It's like, we got to get you back going. And we did a few videos, and then I just left it where it is. If someone isn't on the same wavelength as you are, in grind mode, you got to keep it moving. He wasn't in grind mode around that time. He was in like do as many small shows as I can and features, when he could have just elevated his career as an independent artist. That's where things were going. But yet he signed back to 50 after I thought he had problems with 50 Cent. Like 50 Cent really did something and he was able to get free from the label. But then he goes back and signs back with him. I'm like, oh. Ew. So it wasn't really anything. It was him having a hissy fit and leaving. Anyways. Then we got... Sorry. Let's switch from here. We got... Okay, so Coty is dropping by Lloyd Banks. He's charging $50 plus $10 shipping. I don't think it costs $10 to ship a poster. An autographed poster for $50, and people were buying it. Well, J Hood caught wind that Lloyd Banks is dropping an album, and he put out a tweet. He trolled him, and I would have done the same thing. I would have, because let's be honest. Didn't Lloyd Banks retire? I thought he retired in two or 3 years ago. He said, at Lloyd Banks, I thought you retired, geez. Don't 50 Cent got you jammed up on one of those Young Buck type of contracts? I was like, oh gosh, Young Buck's getting savage. And isn't that why you never saw... See, he had all these mixtapes. Lloyd Banks had a lot of mixtapes out for the past 10 years. Like, after Beamer, Benz, or Bentley, you never saw Lloyd Banks on a streaming platform again. It stops there. You don't see his other projects. He has a lot of mixtape material he just never put out. And I was like, oh, he must be in a weird contract with 50 where 50's not allowing him to post the streaming. Or his business is just terrible. Maybe he doesn't see any money. I don't know what's going on with Lloyd Banks. I think he has new management now, and they're trying to get everything right. We'll see how this works. He has a store that's functioning now. We'll see. Lloyd Banks is nice. I mean, I think that out of G Unit, he's probably the nicest with the rhymes. But under 50 Cent, I think you got Young Buck, Tony Ayo, Lloyd Banks, and I guess you could say the game. You can't really, but just counting those three in the beginning, right? I would say Young Buck had better songs, Lloyd Banks had better lyrics. Anyways, I'm glad Lloyd Banks is dropping again. Lloyd Banks and J Hood, I mean, I don't know where that's going to go, but it's interesting. It's funny. And I think J Hood has a tape coming out too. What is it called? Pesci? The same week. So maybe that's why he's going on. But anyways, it's Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and I'll check you guys in the next one.